Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
This is Mission Evolution, where we explore the evolution of consciousness and the human experience. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Robert Lee Camp, internationally recognized author, master astrologer, and creator of the Cards of Your Destiny, a groundbreaking system that blends astrology, numerology, and ancient wisdom to reveal the hidden blueprint of our lives. Through decades of research, spiritual insight, Robert has helped thousands discover their purpose, timing, and relationship dynamics through the unique power of playing cards. Join us as we explore how the fascinating ancient science can illuminate our journey of personal and spiritual evolution. To learn more, visit his website at cardsofyourdestiny.com. Robert, thank you so much for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Thank you, Gwilda. Great to be here.
For our listeners new to your work, what is the science of the cards and how does it differ from astrology or numerology?
Well, it's, like you can take a numerology and then you can take astrology, and they may give you the same information or a lot of the same information, but they do it in a different way. And the card system is more akin to it's really more akin to astrology because it has planetary influences as well in it. So from that point of view, it's more like astrology, but it's its own system. And according to the most ancient sources, it came from Atlantis 20,000 years ago. We can't prove that, but that's all we know about it, really. But when we look at a deck of cards and see how it connects with the calendar of the Earth, most people don't realize the significance of it, how a deck of cards is so correlated to the cycles of the Earth.
It's pretty fascinating. Excuse me, I'm having a little bit of problem with my voice here.
Take your time.
You say each person is born to a specific card. How's
Every
that
day
card?
of the year. Every day of the year is governed by a card, and the one on the day you were born, it's almost like your astrological sign, but it's a lot more detailed than that. It's a lot more detailed than just your astrological sign. Yeah. It tells a lot about you.
So from all the different angles that you're coming at, it's almost like triangulation, isn't it? Where you get information from lots of different places and then focus it in on to get a single answer.
Yes. So your card happens to be the 7 of clubs. That's your birth card. You have other cards too, because it's a long story, but there's more than one card usually for most people that are significators of who you are. But just looking at the 7 of clubs, the essential nature of that card is spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge. It's funny that you and Rob are both 7 of clubs and you're both doing spiritual knowledge. That's what you're doing. You're taking that to the world, and it's part of my life path too. The 7 of clubs falls in the cards that are considered in my life path. Everybody has a life path. Okay. But the 7 sits right in the center of a suit. If you go from the ace to the king, in the very center is the 7. And the 7 has 1 foot in the mundane world and 1 foot in the spiritual realm. So they bring the spiritual into the mundane. That's the highest offering of a 7 of clubs. The highest expression is to bring one who brings spiritual knowledge to the world, from the spiritual into the mundane world. You see? And when you're a 7, though, there's always a challenge to every card too. So the challenge of a 7 is sometimes they're just totally enlightened, like they feel so enlightened, they're just connected to the universe, like on the spiritual level. And the other times they get dragged down by the mundane world. They feel down or depressed sometimes at time to time. They can be very critical. Sometimes, kind of, That's my card too. I have the same quality. I have to really watch myself because I can be so looking at everything like the glass half empty, kind of a thing. So, Robin Williams was a seven of clubs. All seven of clubs people have like a gift, a mental gift, like they have a connection to this other realm, you know.
So you said the highest expression. What do you mean by that?
Well, the lowest expression would be like depressed, complaining, negative, about stuff, looking at everything like it's bad. And the highest expression is like freedom from all of that and connected to the universe, connected to the higher realms of knowledge, and receiving information from the higher realms. You understand?
I do.
Williams, Robin Williams, I met him a couple times. That man, he just channeled comedy. He just let it come through him. He was doing that all the time. He never stopped doing that. It wasn't like he was doing that as an act. That's what he did all day long. Whoever he was with, whatever he was doing, this stuff was just coming through him like that.
I understand a lot of times he would go off script and just pop through with something that was even funnier than probably what was written.
I mean, almost all the time, that's what he did. I mean, even in his stand-up things, and he wasn't like other comedians that would work really hard, I don't think, on some kind of a script that he was going to memorize and then do. He just would just let it flow, and it flowed.
How did the system originate historically?
Well, every major ancient civilization claims to have invented the deck of cards. The Indians, the Chinese, who else? All of them, whatever. So the first book that was ever written about this system to reveal it to the world was written in 1895 by a man named Olney Richmond. And he was a soldier in the Civil War, and he was a mathematician. He was a homeopathic apothecary. He was the world's checker champion 3 years in a row. I mean, checkers seems really like a child's game, but if you're really good at checkers, you can lose on the very first move. The whole game could be gone on the first move. So he was a genius in his mind, and he was approached after the Civil War by a man that told him he was going to bring this card knowledge to the world, and he had no idea what the guy was talking about, and he doubted. He said, "I'm not even going to live through the Civil War. All my friends are getting killed," But he said that this system came from Atlantis, and he had a temple in Chicago later, and he was an amazing guy. He had reporters come, and there's several reported accounts. A reporter would come to visit him in the temple, and only Richmond would hand him an envelope that was sealed. And after he had given him sort of a tour around the temple, he said, "Let's do a little experiment." And he would have the man shuffle cards, a deck of cards, and he would say, now lay them out and put 4 cards on. He had like a zodiac cloth that had 12 houses, and it has the center where the sun is. And he said, put 4 cards at your own, whatever you like, put 4 cards in each house and 4 in the center. And that makes up the whole deck, 13 times 4. So he would do that. And then he would say, now roll the dice. And whatever number comes up, pick up the cards in that house and turn them over. And he would do that. And then he said, now open the envelope. And in the envelope, it would say, if this reporter does this ancient, he called it a Egyptian mystery number or something, 57 or something, at this time of day, he's going to pull out these 4 cards.
Goodness.
There's several reported accounts of reporters that had that happen to them on a visit to the temple. So he had some information that we don't even have access to, but he wrote a book called The Mystic Test Book. And that is like the first book that it was ever published. He said this system was kept secret for thousands of years because we went through a very dark ages, and you would have been murdered if you had been practicing cards during the dark ages and so forth. So it was basically unknown. I mean, the cards were known by the gypsies who worked in the temples of Egypt. They saw the priest with these cards. They were on ivory tablets, by the way. They weren't like little playing cards. And the gypsies thought they got something from it, and they started doing gypsy readings. And you have a lot of gypsy fortune telling with cards going on today, even today. And the tarot evolved out of that. The tarot deck evolved out of that, out of taking a deck of cards and adding in the Kabbalah and so forth. So, everything evolved out of that original deck, but the gypsies didn't have the full knowledge because they weren't priests in the temple. It was only used by the priest in the temple. But they did what they could, and the cards got around, and then it became poker and all this other stuff.
So they didn't originate as a game.
No, not at all. Because let's just look at a deck of cards, if you don't mind, for just a second. Okay, let's just look. Okay, so first of all, you've got 52 cards, right? We know that. 53 with the Joker, but 52 number of weeks in a year, correct? We have four suits. We have 4 seasons. We have 2 colors, red and black. We have day and night. We have 13 cards in each suit, and there are 13 full moons every year. 13 lunar cycles each year. The word month comes from moon. It really should be moon, and there should be 13 months in a year, honestly. I mean, that's what it was originally made from. So then we take all the cards in the deck and add up the number on the card, where an ace is a 1, 2, 3, 4 to 10, jack is 11, queens are 12, kings are 13. And you add up all the numbers of all the 4 suits, and you get exactly 365. No other card deck does that, only the original deck. And this is what people don't realize. They don't realize it's been right in front of them this whole time.
It sounds like it's Earth and stellar based then.
Yes, it is. And the way the system works is it divides up the year, like your personal year. It divides up your year starting on your birthday into 7 periods, each 52 days long. Okay. And each one is named after a planet. First is Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. These 7 periods and there's cards in each of these periods. This is all done mathematically, by the way. There's nothing random about it. There's no shuffling and laying them out. It's all calculated from your birthday. I have your cards for this year right in front of me right now, and I have next year just with a click of a button. I created software that did it because it's complicated. When I learned it, I learned it the ancient way, and it was very easy to make mistakes. So I just put it into a computer so it wouldn't make mistakes. I didn't like to make those mistakes. But anyway, so we have cards in every period. You have at least 6 cards in each period. And these cards tell you what's happening during that 52-day period, who it's happening with. And is it a good thing for you, or is it a difficult thing?
Well, we're going to have to delve deeper into this on the other side of a station break. Robert and I will return very shortly, so don't go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. How does this work? With us this hour discussing Cards of Your Destiny is Robert Lee Camp. Robert, continue. You were giving an example of how it works.
Yes. So let's see. I think I tried this before. I couldn't share just a part of my screen. I wanted me to share the whole screen, but my screen is way too big to share. But I have a software program that could see all the cards laid out. Okay. But so on your birthday, you start a new year and you enter the Mercury period. During the Mercury period, you're in the Neptune period right now, the last period of the year. But on your birthday here in a week or so, well, actually yeah, even less than a week, you're going to start a whole new year. Okay. And everything shifts a little bit on your birthday because you have 5 cards that influence the entire year. So everything kind of shifts. Sometimes it's not that different, but sometimes it's very different. And it happens right on your birthday. You do have a whole new set of cards that you're going to live through for that year. And these cards are like mirrors of what's happening in your life. So if you don't mind, I'll give you just a quick overview of what I see for this coming year for you.
Don't mind at all. Thank you.
Okay. So one thing I see is that we have what's called a long range card for every year that tells it's like the headline of the year. And you have 3 different cards to consider. You're a 7 of clubs, but you're also a jack of clubs and you're also a jack of diamonds. Okay, these are your 3 cards. So each of those has its own spread, and each of those has its own long range card. So the 3 of diamonds is a long range card in your first spread, and that means that you're going to be making money from more than one source. You're going to be branching out and looking and having finances coming from different directions, more than you are now for whatever reason. I don't know what that's going to mean exactly, but that's what the cards say. And the cards have been, we have an old saying, people will lie, but the cards never lie. In your other spread, you have an Ace of Hearts long range. Now, this is the first card in the deck, the Ace of Hearts. Last card is the King of Spades. First card is the Ace of Hearts. Ace of Hearts is the card of like, what do I love? Like, what is really like? It's like, I think you're going to go through a process of examination of your life, a re-examination of your life, and say, well, here I am now. What do I really love? What really is it that I want to do? What is it that who do I want to be with? Where do I want to live? I mean, all those things could be up for questioning. But the question is, what do you really love that you want to put yourself into? That's going to be a big theme for you this coming year. Okay. You might already feel it coming, by this time, because you're only like 2 days away or 3 days away. And then I see you doing more of what you're doing now with the spiritual knowledge. I don't see that changing. But there may be some other aspect of your life where you're going to examine it. Is this really what I really want to keep doing, or what I really love to do? And you'll be making most likely some changes as a result of that.
Pretty fascinating.
There you have it.
Many tools promise destiny insights. In your view, what makes card-based timing so accurate?
Well, it's when I first was introduced to this, I thought, I'm not going to just believe in this. I want to test it out. I want to test it. And so I tested it for a year. But on the very first day, like, I took a class with my first teacher in LA. And on the very first class, he showed us how to look up our cards for the current time period. And right there in the card that I found for myself was something that had just happened the day before. I couldn't believe it. It just blew me away. It's like, and it was a secret thing. It was something nobody knew about. Something I wasn't telling anybody about. And there it was. I was like, oh my God. And so it hooked me from the beginning, but I still didn't want to just give it my belief, whatever. So I tested it for a year. It just has never failed me. It just continues. And I have so many clients and students that just tell me these amazing stories of how these cards, I've predicted the birthday of children that were going to be born. I predicted all kinds of stuff, and I use astrology as well. So I have both tools at my disposal. And when I see it in both, I say it with 100% confidence. This is what's going to happen,
It sounds like this gets very in depth into a person's private stuff. Like you said, you didn't even tell anybody about what did show up. You didn't tell anybody about an incident that did show up. Are there some ethics that go along with this because it is so accurate?
Well, I think eventually there will be some ethical considerations. Right now, people don't take it all that seriously, but it's obviously, I use it in all of my relationships. Like if I'm hiring somebody for something, or going to be working with somebody, I get their birthday right away because I want to know, how do we connect? And what's the very nature of this person? You know, like I recently had some solar panels and things installed in their home. And when I found out the name of the birthday of the main guy, I realized there's a potential problem here because I've had issues with this birthday before, and they have a lack of morality, let's just call it, when it comes to money.
Mm.
And sure enough, that's how it turned out. He gave me an estimate, and he came back with something entirely different. And I had to show him the estimate, and I ended up like cutting the project off right in the middle because I could tell he just wasn't on the up and up. He was pulling a fast one. And maybe I projected that into the situation because I'd had happened before, but it hasn't. This is the third time I've met a person of that birthday who has those cards, who acted that way. So, you know, I'm not going to say everybody who's that card is going to be like this, but it seems to be a pretty strong pattern with certain cards. You know, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
It does.
Yeah.
For skeptics, what repeatable patterns or case studies convinced you this system is real world validity?
Well, I mean, I saw this was a long time ago. I remember when O.J. Simpson's wife and best friend were murdered, and I looked in O.J.'s cards, and I didn't see any signs of tragedy. I saw signs of success. It blew me away. I was like, "What? These cards must not be right." And then I realized, oh, this wasn't a tragedy for him. This was mission accomplished for him, you know. And as I learned the cards more and more, it all became obvious. And I also looked at Ron Goldman's cards and his wife Nicole, and I saw where I wouldn't have predicted death for them, like not knowing them very well. But perhaps if I had known the whole situation, I might have. If I had known more about how their interactions had been prior to the event, you know. But I've had so many, I can't even count all the times people have come back to me who have gotten readings and said, you know, everything you said happened just like you said it, you know. I did a lot of radio shows in the beginning. Back then it was radio, you know, we didn't have podcasts and all this stuff. And all the radio guys would call me Mr. Destiny. So I ended up with this Mr. Destiny moniker from doing predictions, readings for their listeners. They would call in, and I would, you know, give a quick reading, and then they would call back later and go, you know. So I've just seen it. It's proved itself to me just so many times. I can't deny it. And I think if you understood how the system actually originates, how it is actually formed, how these yearly spreads come to be, which is a mathematical process, but not like a regular math process, but more like a spiritual math process, even though it is mathematical. Once a person kind of gets into it and looks at it deeper, it instills a sense of like it's really connected to this world that we live in. It's super connected to the life that we live here. You know? That's how I see it now.
How can listeners start using their birth card and planetary ruling card in daily decision making?
Well, there are actually even cards for every day, and they can go to my website and find out what their birth card is, what their card for this year is, the main card, what the card for this planetary period is, and the card for this day for free. It's right there on the front page of cardsofyourdestiny.com. Now, as soon as if they want to get into it, I have two books. One is called The Cards of Your Destiny. That's available on Amazon, and it's in some bookstores or through our website. And then there's another book called Love Cards. And Love Cards tells you all about your personality of your birthday and your relationship karma. And it tells you how to do a relationship reading with other people that you're involved with. So you find out what the connections are and what that really means, what's going on with you in your relationship.
Do the cards carry, they seem so complex and coming from so many different angles. Can you also use those cards to decide where to live? Or, say, for instance, can you use those cards on a company versus an individual?
We've used the cards on companies, individuals. Um, what was the first one you mentioned?
The first one was, I know astrologically you can do a reading and figure out where's the best place for you to be on the planet right now.
Yeah, well, I use astrology for that. I use astrocartography for that one. Now there is like, okay, you can take like every state has a birthday and every town has a birthday, like a date of incorporation or, so you can get the card of a place and see if you're compatible with that card. And some people swear by that. I haven't used that as much as I use astrocartography. Astrocartography has been so accurate for me. I just, don't even need another one to do. But there was a whole book written about using the cards for location where you would live, knowing the card of the place.
So, say for instance, I'm going to start a business. Before I initiate it, if
Oh,
I look
there
if
are
I look
days.
up various dates,
There are days
can
that are way
choose.
better. There are days that are way better for business. So every card in the deck has a certain karma with regards to relationship, business, and health. Okay, every card. So there are certain cards that have really good money karma. Okay, so you want to have your business on one of these cards. Start your business on one of these days that is ruled by that card, because it's going to be way better. It's just going to be better. The birthday of your business is an entity, just like the birthday of a country or a birthday of a state or a city. It's going to be the birthday of this entity, which is your business, and you want to have one that's a powerful moneymaker if you can. And I've answered that question so many times for people, and there's a couple, that I could tell you now, but it wouldn't really help you because you don't even know what days match which cards and all that stuff, so, but it's easy to find out.
How do compatibility readings with the cards illuminate strengths and friction points in relationship?
Well, the cards are, the basic way cards are arranged. I don't know if you can see this. This is what we call the grand solar spreads. Everything comes from here. And I'm just showing you briefly so you get an idea, but every
Well,
card, every two cards.
hang on to that because we're going to have to take a station break and we'll look
Okay,
at it
good enough.
on
Good
the
enough.
other side. Robert and I will be right back to continue our discussion. So you stay right there. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. With us is Master Astrologer Robert Lee Camp. Robert, you were about to show us something. You had a demonstration you were holding up. It's a little hard to
Well,
read because it
I just
reflects.
wanted you to see briefly how these are all the cards in the deck in two different formations. One's called the life spread and one's called the spiritual spread. And all of our relationship stuff is done by the relationship between any two cards here. And every two cards have some kind of connection, and usually multiple connections. But the first ones, like if you have cards, for example, that are two spaces apart, that's called a Venus connection. Okay. And Venus means you guys are going to have stuff in common. You're going to get along. You're going to like each other just because you do. It's a good one for marriage, a good one for friendship, a good one for any relationship, really, is the Venus connection. And then there's like, you have a Mars card, which is somebody that excites you, but may also make you mad or angry. Okay, you know, like Mars is a little bit, Mars is good in a relationship because it's good for sex, it's good for doing things. Too much Mars will be just fighting, you know, fighting constantly. I've had that. I've experienced that myself. I had one that just had too much Mars. We couldn't even have a conversation without arguing. So then there's Jupiter and there's Saturn. And Saturn is the worst. You don't want to be, you wouldn't pick somebody who's your Saturn card, which is 5 spaces away from your car in any direction. So, you know, and you are Saturn to somebody as well. Everybody has somebody that's Saturn to them and somebody that you're Saturn to. So it's knowing which connections are the best for relationship, and it's knowing which ones to avoid, because those are going to come up in a relationship. And there's also a moon connection, which is when two cards are right next to each other. It's called sun and moon. Okay. So the one who's in the front, the sun card, will be the boss. They'll always be the boss. And the one that's on the backside will be the support person. And it could be the girl or the guy. It doesn't matter. But the one in the front is going to be the one who's driving the ship, taking the boat to where it's going. And the other one's the passenger, you know. So, and that's the most common connection, by the way, in all marriages. Almost all marriages, over 90% of marriages have one or more moon connections. It inspires marriage, you know, sun and moon, male, female, together, you know, like that. Yeah.
What card signatures tend to appear in entrepreneurs, artists, or healers?
Healers can often be nines, because 9 is this really compassionate card that likes to take care of people. Like they would work in hospices, or they'd be a counselor to people. People that are 9s really go for that. Business is usually diamonds. You know, you have a diamond. One of your cards is a jack of diamonds. You're in the 7 of clubs, a jack of clubs, and a jack of diamonds. So you got a little bit of money thing going on, you know. And I'm a queen of diamonds and an ace of diamonds. I got 2 money cards, so you know I'm about making money. I was making money when I was 6 years old. I was out there doing lemonade stands and stuff. It's just like, it's interesting, you know, if your first card is a diamond, it's a little stronger, but it can be also present there as well when it's your ruling card, which is what your jacks are. They're ruling cards, the jack of clubs and jack of diamonds. Okay. So entrepreneurs are usually diamonds, not always, but usually. There's other cards that can be because of other connections and in their life spread, but generally they're diamonds. They're more interested in money. Like an ace of diamonds person, which I am, that's one of my cards. And I've met a lot of ace of diamonds women, and you know, they gotta have their business. They cannot not have a business. They have to have a career. They have to be making money. They have to be proving to themselves and the world that they're valuable, that they have value by how much money they make. You know, it's so obvious with them. And there's 12 birthdays of that card. So there's a lot of them out there. You know, a lot of them. Anyway, does that answer it? I'm not sure if I answered it.
Yeah, you did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, it's not here. You're a 7. That's just 7 and 9 are the 2 spiritual numbers. So anybody who's a 7 or 9 can be very spiritual. You know, Einstein was a 9 of diamonds and a 2 of spades. So he was very psychic. By the way, the 9s are very psychic. So he was very psychic, but he was also, that 2 of spades is such a strong mental card, real, like a genius kind of card. So he was a genius that also had this other side where he was connected to the unseen realms, like 7 of clubs, like yours, you know. But that 2 of spades allowed him to put that into writing and to bring that out to the world, you know. So it's very fascinating when you get into it.
How do you counsel someone whose spread shows challenging cards without instilling fear?
Well, I try to, I look at, there are challenging cards, they come up, you know, and, but every challenging card has a potential to be a breakthrough, like a personal breakthrough. because the 7s and 9s are considered bad cards. Okay, if you have a 7 or 9 coming up in your yearly spread of cards, it's often a problem, a challenge. But all of these cards can be transformed by changing one's attitude or looking within, see what's going on here, what's going on. Like when you have a 9 showing up in a spread, something's going to end, either a relationship, a lifestyle choice. It could be a death of somebody close to you with a 9, depending on the position and the suit of the card and so forth. But it's going to be an ending when you have a 9. So usually, if it's in a bad position like Saturn in the Saturn period, it means I'm not going to like this 9. I'm going to think I shouldn't lose this, but in fact you do. The universe is trying to tell you this has got to go. It's time to flush the toilet. It's time to let go. You think it's good for you, but it's actually not. And so on the other side of this, people always come out, whether they fight it or whether they let go soon. On the other end, they always think this had to happen. This was the right thing. In retrospect, they always look back and they go, "Well, that I can see why that had to happen the way that it happened." Same
Well,
thing
in our
with
culture, yeah,
yeah.
in our culture, we don't let go easily. We keep building and building and
No,
building, but we don't let
and
go.
we're very materialistic, really. Our whole society is based on like getting more money, getting more fame, and so forth and so forth. So if a person is very materialistic, these 7s and 9s are going to be nothing but major problems and suffering. But if you have a spiritual side, it becomes like an opportunity to have a breakthrough. And I've had many 7s and 9s that showed up in the beginning being a real problem that turned into like amazing breakthroughs, personal breakthroughs.
Do most cards or all cards have a positive and a negative?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Every card. There's no such thing as a bad card. The Ace of Spades, has been a symbol for death for a long, long time. I don't know if you've seen, but like there's pictures of people that were murdered by the mafia, and there'll be an Ace of Spades thrown on their chest, and there's just so many examples of that. But the Ace of Spades is one of the most spiritual cards in the whole deck, and it means transformation, which death is a transformation. But people don't realize that it has this other meaning of spiritual transformation, and it actually, the Ace of Spades is the card that represents this entire system. It is the card that is the symbol for the order of the Magi, who are the ones that kept this knowledge alive for centuries.
Transmutation at its finest.
Exactly. Whether you like it or not, and some cards are very resistant to change, and they have a hard time when the time comes to let go or to shift, but other cards don't. It just varies. It's all very unique to each person.
Where do you believe personal choice fits in within card indicated cycles?
Well, some of the things that happen are destined to happen because they're karmic. They occurred because of something that happened in the past, which had to be worked out in the future. Like if you kick a ball, if you see a ball rolling, somebody kicked it, right? So like a lot of the karma that we experience in our lifetime, it comes from past lives and from earlier in our life, in this lifetime, mostly from past life. In astrology, when I read an astrology chart, I'm reading a blueprint of a person's past life karma that's coming to fruition in this lifetime. That's what it is. And a friend of mine called it spiritual DNA, and astrology and the cards are like so tight together. And so, most of what happens to us, especially early in our life, is karmic. So where the choice comes in is how do we deal with it when it comes up? What do we do with it? And a lot of it's good karma too. I tell people this a lot. If you look at the best things in life that happened to you, like opportunities that arose and things and how you chose the career you're in, you'll realize that you had nothing to do with it. These things just happened to you. They were good things that came to you because they were your destiny. They were karma from past life. So a lot of karma is from doing good deeds. And then there's other karma from not being aware of how we hurt other people that comes into play. And we have to be on the other end of that to see what it's like to get the whole picture, you know.
It sounds like the cards let you know what the wave is, but how you surf it is up to you.
Yeah, exactly. This, like, an event's going to happen. Um, with some of these events are not going to be welcome because, you know, we want everything to go our way. And life doesn't work that way. You know, so all this stuff's going to happen that we don't like, and we're going to whatever bitch and complain, or we're going to like look at it as, why am I fighting against reality? You know, maybe I can, because a 7 and 9 can bring the most profound spiritual experiences in life, you know. And I know you, as a 7 of clubs, I know you've had some of those. You have to. You can't be a 7 without having had these, or a 9 for that matter. Okay, you have to. So you understand what I'm talking about.
I do. Are there evolutionary themes, such as the way the cards point to soul growth across a lifetime?
Well, you know, evolutionary growth, in my opinion, is really very personal for each individual. You know, so like, you could find 100 people of the same birthday, and they're going to play those cards out a little differently. They're not all of them are going to be spiritually oriented. Some of them may be. Some of them may become enlightened before they're 20 years old, you know, because they're past life karma, but they are this card, you know. I mean, I have met a few enlightened people in my lifetime, and sometimes they're a card that you wouldn't even consider would be enlightened. It's like, you know, but they're an enlightened version of this card. They're not, their ego is gone. There's no ego. There's no negativity at all in these people that I've met. And yet they're a card that usually is like problem making card, you know?
Well, it's time for us to take another station break. Please stay with us as Robert and I continue to explore discovering your destiny. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. What if I'm a newbie? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with author Robert Lee Camp. His website, cardsofyourdestiny.com. So, what are a few practical do's and don'ts for beginners pulling their first spreads?
Well, you know, my book, The Cards of Your Destiny, tells you how to do your own yearly readings, or readings for anybody else for that matter. And there's about 25 to 30 pages of instruction that leads you through doing the first reading. And, you know, one has to be patient enough to read those 25 pages. Okay. Some people open up the book and they see all these spreads and they go, oh my God, this is too complicated. I can't do this. You know, instead of just reading the instructions, because all this information is necessary, these spreads are necessary because it has everyone's life to age 100 in the book. There's about, you know, 50 or 100 pages of just these spreads. But it's not that complicated if you just take it step by step and go into it. So I always recommend the book because there's no online course that teaches you from the very beginning, and you need to have those access to those spreads in order to do the reading. You have to be able to look them up and see, you know, oh, what do I have? Where am I at? I'm in my Mars period right now, and these are the cards. And then the book tells you what those cards mean in the Mars period, in every period. So there's a lot of interpretation of the cards in there. There's some basic instructions, and once you get into it, you can go. I've had people go right into doing readings, you know, for other people right away. You know, it's actually the easiest of all the systems to learn, I think, in my opinion. it takes longer to master it, but you can get valuable information from it right away, like within an hour of picking up the book and reading it. Yeah. Or the
Have you
love
seen,
part of the book. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
that's okay. Have you seen the cards help resolving long-standing patterns such as health, finances, or relationships?
Yes. Well, you know, there are certain birthdays that are born with a lifetime of health challenges, and we know those. We know what they are. We know which ones could possibly have that issue. Um, and it turns out that a lot of them do. Not every single one, but most of them do. You know, there's certain birthdays, and if they were to look at the card and they would go into that, well, what is it? What is it that I need to learn here? Like, what is it? What is this? Why do I have this existence? And what is it that I can be with and have a breakthrough? I mean, look at Stephen Hawking's. Okay, Stephen Hawking's. He never once complained about his condition, and he was, you know, in the end, he couldn't even move his lips.
Was
You
he a
know,
7 or a 9?
I forget. I looked him up once. Yeah, I think he might have been a 7 of spades or a card, because the 7 of spades is usually the card that has challenges on the physical level, whereas the 7 of clubs will have challenges on the mental level, and the 7 of diamonds will have challenges on the financial level, and the 7 of hearts will have challenges on the relationship level. So they are challenging cards, you know. I forget what his. I could look it up, but you know, but when you look at that, you realize that it's possible to have the worst things happen to you and yet not have a negative relationship with it. You know, so that's the challenge, in my opinion.
What boundaries do you keep when reading for sensitive topics like illness or loss?
Well, I first of all, I don't have any negative. Um, I don't have any negative judgments about anything, pretty much. You know, like I'm not going to say, oh, you know, you're bad or there's something really bad. Like I'll say this could be a real challenging period for you. It may or may not be, but if it is, it's going to be about this. It's going to be, this is the challenge you're facing with this. Now, I've had some clients that are extremely materialistic and all they want to know is, am I going to make money? Am I going to get married? Am I going to, you know, whatever? Am I going to travel, buy a house, whatever? And I give them the best I can, you know, I give them the best I can. And I'm honest. I'll say, you know, if I don't see it, I say, I don't see that. And sometimes it comes out in the conversation before the reading's over that they really don't want to move or they really don't want what they say they want. You know, it just, you have to be just kind of like patient and just kind of go into it. But I don't carry any judgment about it. So I'm not putting that charge on it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, you know, with my readings.
Basically, meeting a person where they're at.
Yeah, I want to know where they're at because, you know, are they materialistic or are they more spiritual? How attached are they to their problems? How attached are they to their negative story about their life? How attached are they to their whatever, their relationship or their money? You know, I want to know where they're coming from. And then I try to sort of ease them into looking at it in a better way and showing and letting the cards show them a pathway that can lead them out of wherever they are to where they want to be, you know. It's my intention anyway.
Which leads me to my next question. How can these cards be used for the evolution of mankind?
Sting the musician from the Police. He had a song called "All This Time," and the very last line of the song is, "Men go crazy in congregations; they only get better one by one." So I have not found a way to use the cards to make a prediction about society in general, but I have been able to help a lot of individuals, and that's what I focus on. So any individual, this system is inherently spiritual, but it's whatever the person takes from it. I taught a class once to a group of people in Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay, all they wanted to know was, guess what? How can we use these cards to win at gambling?
For the lottery, yeah.
And you know what? Most of them moved there for that very reason. And these were quasi-spiritual people. Okay, they were spiritual and they were gamblers. And I was like, this is so crazy. I thought it was just crazy.
How, as a divinational tool, how accurate can they be?
It's mind-blowing, actually. Because you can take the book, The Cards of Your Destiny, you look in your past, you can say, okay, I got married when I was 28 or whatever. And you can go back and look and see if that card was there. You can test it. Yeah.
How do you go back and look?
Well, it has your whole life in the book, from birth till age 100.
So you just
Every
go back
year.
to the particular layout or
just go
whatever
back to
for that year.
It's done by age, like the first year of life is age 0, then age 1 is your second year of life, and so forth. So if you know your age, you can go back and look, and you can even look at the very time period, what period you were in, which one of your planetary periods you were in at that time, and you can look at those cards and the cards for the year and say, well, does that match what happened to me? And you'll find it. I guarantee you'll find it.
Can the cards tell you when you're going to die?
I looked for myself, and I was told by my first card teacher never to predict anyone's death, and because it creates karma. Like if I gave you a reading and I told you 5 things or 4 things that were so right on, and then I told you you're going to die, you're going to believe me. That's a heavy burden. I would never do that. I would never. So I never do. Now I've had a lot of clients who come to me like, when is my dad or my mom going to die? Sometimes they're waiting for money. I mean, I've seen the best and worst of people in my practice, So, or they just want to know. They're just concerned, and sometimes you can see it. And I will say there's a possibility with this, whatever like that. But I never say definitely someone's going to die, because I don't really know. Honestly, I don't know.
Do you feel like by giving a date, then they can make it happen because they believe it's going to happen?
Perhaps, but I never tell them this is going to happen. I say, there's a possibility here. I mean, I've seen my best friend growing up, him and his siblings couldn't wait for their mom to die. They were so mean to her. I couldn't believe it. It seemed to be really cruel to me when she got really ill, how the way they treated her. And I just couldn't believe people did that. It just amazed me, how that happened. So it's all very individual. And of course, by now there's just any possibility of anything in this world. Especially lately, it's a madhouse.
These are indeed wild times, aren't they?
Yeah, 3-ring circus.
And we know who the jokers are.
Exactly. By the way, December 31st is a Joker card, and that's one birthday that we cannot read in this system. You cannot read jokers. They're like the enigma of the whole system, because a joker can be any card in the deck at any moment, and they can change. Anthony Hopkins, Val Kilmer, who else? There's several amazing actors that are jokers. They can become that character so well.
Charlatans, basically.
Yeah, they can.
Chameleons, I guess is what I meant to say.
Chameleon, that's a good one. Yeah, chameleon, that's better. A little more positive.
If a listener wants to go deeper, which foundational resources that you offer, which would you start with?
Well, I would get the Love Cards and Cards of Your Destiny books first off. Start there, and then I have a lot of courses on my website, recorded classes. If you need help getting deeper into it, we take people all the way from a beginner to being a professional reader. We have a 10-month training program we do every year. We're in the middle of one right now, where we have usually around 30 people learning to be professional card readers, certified. We certify them. We teach them in the way that I learned it, And we make sure that when they come out of there, they're able to do amazing readings that can transform a person's life.
Well, it's that time in the show, Robert, when I get to ask you, what's your mission?
My mission, I discovered this 30 before just as I was getting into the cards, I narrowed it down. And my mission is, and it hasn't changed, to bring knowledge from the past into the present, knowledge from the ancient past that was enlightened past into the present to benefit people, to benefit mankind. That's my
Beautiful,
mission.
beautiful mission. How do you feel that that applies to now, particularly? You're bringing time
Well,
things from ancient. How does it apply right now?
well, this system comes from the ancient, and it came from a time when it was a pure spiritual knowledge. So the more I spread this around, the more that people read my books, the more people are helped. I get feedback almost every day from people that lives have been transformed by the knowledge that's given in the books. So I'm very content about that.
Unfortunately, Robert, we're out of time. Thank you so much for all you do and for coming on the show.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I hope to see you again someday.
I think we can plan on it.
Okay, very good.
Once again, our guest this hour has been Robert Lee Camp, author, astrologer, and creator of the Cards of Your Destiny. To discover what your birth card reveals about your soul's path, destiny, visit his website at cardsofyourdestiny.com, where you can also access past episodes and guest information. This has been Mission Evolution, dedicated to guiding humanity towards a more conscious and connected future. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Until next time, may you embrace your soul with courage, wisdom, and heart.